Ralph, it's really great to talk to you. It's been quite a 24-hour whiplash. What are your clients, what's Wall Street talking about today?
I think that, first of all, regardless of the outcome of the presidential election, we're going to have divided government because the House will remain in the hands of the Democrats. It looks highly probable that the Senate will remain in the hands of the Republicans, and we'll have either President Trump or Vice President Biden as our president. I think what's happening today in the markets is a endorsement of divided government. I personally believe that if Biden is elected or President Trump, that it means a smaller stimulus package than we might have gotten pre-election when the Republicans would have been more inclined in the Senate to help the president. If Biden's elected, there will be support for a large package in the presidency and in the House. But my guess is the Senate will revert to the Senate Republicans will revert to their more fiscal conservative roots, and the package will be scaled back substantially, although still some stimulus.
Ralph, you have been a member of the administration before. Your wife has served as well in the Carter administration. When you look at the Democratic Party moving forward, what is your expectation? What comes next for the party?
Well, I think the interesting thing is I think both parties will have, lots of soul searching as they have been doing for the last few years. In the Democratic Party, there's an active discussion, certainly carried forward in this primary season when you had over more than 20 candidates, as to whether we are better off in national politics putting forth left center or center left candidates. That happens to be my view. I actually believe had we put forward a true card-carrying progressive, the results we wouldn't be sitting here hanging on a razor's edge as to who wins right now. It would be over and probably in the President Trump's favor. So that debate will continue in the Republican Party. If President Trump does lose, there will be an interesting debate between those who have become, very strongly allied with his form of politics, which has not been particularly fiscally conservative or traditional Republican by any stretch of the imagination, and those who want to revert back to the more center-right roots of the Republican Party. That'll be challenging, I think, for the Republicans because, President Trump clearly is still extraordinarily popular within the party. So it's not clear to me that candidates who walk away from him or repudiate him, certainly his policies, will be embraced by their party. So, and we live in a world where, because of gerrymandering, in many of our states and certainly in many congressional races, the primary is the general election, and that tends to encourage people to go to the extremes rather than toward the center, which is an unfortunate thing.
Ralph, the market trying to parse all of this and trying to figure it out. Good morning, by the way, it's Guy. Yesterday, I was told by many market participants that divided government was bad. That, as you say, it wouldn't deliver the stimulus that the market craved. Today, it seems that divided government is good. Can you explain that flip to me? Is it simply that today's market gains in the equity markets are just being driven by what's happening in the tech sector? And is there a kind of bias just to go up? Does the market just want to go up when it comes to equities?
Well, I think that divided government probably does mean, as I said earlier, that the stimulus will be smaller than it might otherwise have been, certainly pre-election. But there's a lot more, I think, that divided government also means. It also probably means less aggressive regulation. It probably means more compromise on the tax plans if Biden is elected that he would have had, as they pertain to the corporate tax rate, capital gains rates. It's hard to imagine that that the reversal of the Trump tax cuts will be high on the agenda of Mitch McConnell and the Senate Republicans. So there are a lot of elements to divided government, and the size of the stimulus package is but one of those, and I would argue a relatively short-term one.
Mm-hmm. Ralph, you have been such a big proponent of some of those taxation measures, especially capital gains. Without a blue sweep scenario, how do you expect some of those more aggressive measures to be passed? Do you expect members of the party to still push hard on taxes on investors and on the wealthy and on corporations?
Well, I think we're living in a world, and we have been for many years, where our appetite for government spending significantly exceeds our willingness to pay for it. If you go back the end of the Clinton administration, the share of GDP that went to federal taxes was about 19.5%. This year, it's around 16%. But the share of GDP going to spending has actually drifted up a bit. That's not a sustainable situation. So at some point, we're, and obviously in the middle of a deep, high unemployment rate and a recession, that's not the time to put your fiscal house in order. But at some point in the relatively near future, that has to happen. And I don't see spending coming down that much. And so we'll probably wind up with some combination of modest spending cuts and some tax increases, and it'll be very hard to find consensus on how that happens.